Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Wing Nation, brought to you by none other than Sage Fruit. I am your host today because my co-host, my normal host, Steve Post, is on special assignment, still stuck in Michigan because of rain. But joining me today is none other than my co-host, also known as my husband, David Stremme, also here in Lethal Chassis Studios, as Steve likes to mention, here in Mifflintown, Pennsylvania. Thanks for joining me today, David.
I'm trying to dig you out of a hole here. So you went pretty deep to get me.
It's true. It's true. No, we have some other players that we can back up, but Aaron's out of town and, well, you were just down the hallway, so it just made it a whole lot easier. But we were out of town racing ourselves this weekend. You had a great weekend. You can chat about that real quick, and then we'll jump into the insane weekend of sprint car racing.
So we did, obviously, doing all the testing for SRX. We were up in Michigan, so we went to Merritt Speedway for the wood tick and swept the weekend. But also being on this show, I've turned into, I watch a lot more wing sprint cars, being we're here at Port Royal. So another big reason of me moving up here to PA, because it's wing country. This is big, and I do enjoy the wing cars.
Don't lie, folks. He does enjoy racing, sometimes sprint cars, but he truly hates that they have to be pushed off. So he's not a diehard sprint car fan by any means. But let's chat about the awesome weekend. There was some incredible sprint car racing. We're going to kick it off with the Ironman 55 and the Kyle Larson, Logan Schuchart battle. We know Kyle is great at what he does. We know Logan has won that race, I don't even know how many times, 2-3 times in the past. Just some incredible racing, David.
Oh, it was, for one, you've seen the respect the two showed each other. I mean, just ultimately a dogfight. And obviously, as I'm going to use a Dick Trickle saying, it was like flying a fighter jet in a gymnasium. The speeds are running. Obviously, you know, Federated Speedway there, Peevely, they put on a great show. Even they were fighting some conditions the night before, and we seen that nasty, pretty gnarly wreck with Corey Day, but all the safety and everything held up. But yeah, Logan and Kyle put on I mean, you didn't need your seat there. Everybody was standing, and it was phenomenal show. Very, very fun.
And it was really cool. Kyle Larson actually shared his heart rate monitor that he wears in the car. I think it was up to 184 beats per minute. So even he still gets excited about crazy times in a sprint car like that. The second race of the weekend that was also a dogfight was the Knoxville 360 Nationals. Brian Brown and Aaron Reitzel right at the line. Brownie got him coming to the checkers, and another just great race to the build-up for the Knoxville Nationals this week.
Well, I look at, you know, obviously Knoxville, the Nationals. I don't really know who I would pick to win, because everybody is just, man, they're putting so much effort like they do every year. But you just see like Brownie, you see Schuchart, all these guys on a roll. You know, Donnie, you can't knock him out. But I loved watching social media where everybody's pulling their 410s out, putting their 360 motors in, and that they probably only use this time of year to get ready for Knoxville. So it was a pretty cool race. I was going to try to watch the Capitan, I think is how you say it, class, and it rained out, and I was bummed about that. But they got this is like, you know, a really cool week to watch the wing cars out there in Knoxville.
It truly is. I don't know if you can actually pick somebody. The level of competition right now is absolutely incredible. It's from the locals to the World of Outlaws to an outsider. It really could be anybody. And that being said, we've been kind of talking about Fred Raymer and AJ Flick. They both added to their win list this week. Now both tying each other with the most wins in sprint car racing at the moment with 12 wins each. And then you've got Mark Dobmeyer and David Gravel with 10 wins. And so those four are the only four that have broke the double-digit win category so far this year.
For sure. I mean, AJ has been, you know, watching him at Lernerville and some of the races that he's been running it. I've been able to pick up on. He's really stepped his program up this year. I'm looking forward to. I'm sure he'll be over here at the Tuscarora 50. So he's definitely got his program rolling this year.
No doubt about it. Well, it is that time of the week. Whether you're watching this on Rev TV on Wednesday, it's the first night of the Knoxville Nationals, or if you're watching it on MAV TV, we're later in the week with the Knoxville Nationals. So obviously we don't have any results for you, but all eyes are on Knoxville right at the moment. And joining us in the next segment is none other than a Knoxville National winners himself. It is Dave Blaney. He'll be joining us in just a moment. Stick around. You're watching Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit.
The Outlaws are headed back to the Pacific Northwest. Join us for 3 action-packed nights of racing August 31st, September 1st and 2nd at Skagit Speedway when the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars return for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals. Kickoff for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals begins Wednesday, August 30th with a pre-race party, live band, Sage Fruit apple giveaways, and more. Then catch Donnie Schatz and the rest of the World of Outlaws as they take on Washington's best sprint car drivers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Details at SkagitSpeedway.com.
Welcome back. You're watching Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit. And joining us now in the actual studios this week, it's a little backwards as you can see, but is none other than the 1997 Knoxville Nationals winner, Dave Blaney. Dave, thanks for joining us today.
Hey, nice to see you guys. Yeah, I'm holding the fort down here for you. Don't worry. I got it.
Perfect. I appreciate it while Steve's out of town. But hey, so obviously this week, all about the Knoxville Nationals. First of all, let's chat about that win in 97. What did it mean to you? What did it mean to your career? And just kind of, if you can remember one of the greatest moments of that night.
I remember the biggest thing I felt was relief after finally winning it. I tried a long time. I think that was the 15th year that I'd been there and tried and come close several times. So relief was part of it. But, you know, once you get thinking about it, yeah, one of the biggest, maybe the biggest race that we run, and you get a chance to get your name put on that forever. That's pretty big moment. And I do remember it was a Monday race, rained out Sunday night or Saturday night, and I guess it was a Sunday race, but it was a rain delay.
Dave, with the Knoxville Nationals, is it kind of like your Daytona Speed Weeks for sprint cars, where you're getting your car kind of tuned up, getting everything ready, and you want to take care of it for the main event?
Man, I think it's kind of opposite, because every time you're on the racetrack there, you get points for qualifying for heat races. So you got to be all out every lap, gain as many points as you can for starting position on Saturday. And I will say the preliminary nights at Knoxville Nationals were the most stressful of the year. That heat race especially, they'd invert. If you qualified good, you'd start 10th, and you need to make top 4. It was that wasn't fun until it was over.
Obviously, you talk about prelims and 15 years, you know, competing for the Knoxville Nationals. Can you talk about what that week is like? Just kind of, there's so much that goes on. That little town becomes a huge city that week, and just the atmosphere there. What's it like for a race fan or David Stremme, who's never been to the Knoxville Nationals?
Well, yeah, huge event now during the week. It wasn't maybe as big, you know, back in the 90s as it is now, but still, it was big. But I can honestly say I never cared one bit about it. It was the biggest race of the year, and that's what I was there for. And wasn't much other activities for me. But it is cool. The whole, especially that little town is so, you know, all about that race and all about racing in general. And the people that came from all over the world, even back then, to that race was impressive.
As you see over time, what do you think since 97 is the biggest change at Knoxville?
The payout. It pays a lot of money. It paid a lot of money then. You know, in 97, it was I think it was $100,000 to win, and for that day and time, that was a lot. And we had a couple of them back then, a couple hundreds, but I don't know. It's still, you know, all these years, it's still the most prestigious race of the year. Still the one everybody aims at. You know, like you said, it's a huge amount of fanfare around it. I don't know. It's just gotten bigger and better in my eyes.
I was surprised when I was out there and walked through the museum with Kenny Schrader as we were out there for SRX, and learning that the sprint cars, you know, obviously were wingless for a while. Then they put these billboards, actual plywood on top, and then it's how it's evolved, and it's phenomenal. It's like Ashley said, that little town and how much goes into this week of the Nationals.
It is. It's crazy. Everybody's got their spot picked out somewhere in town where they're going to stay or where they're going to work on the car, and that's a big deal. You got to get that handled. So it is. It's crazy, and it takes a lot of work to get ready or when you're there, and it all comes down to a huge race where everybody's pretty worked up and pretty nervous and excited.
Dave, you talked about the prelim nights and how important they are and kind of the build up to Saturday. Is it kind of I don't want to say a mind game, but kind of like you've got to play your cards right through the prelim nights on picking the right night and being dealt the right hand to be able to make sure where you need to be on Saturday?
I think just eliminating mistakes is the big thing. You got to take advantage of anything you can. It's a good time trial lap. Maybe you get a good draw, so that's going to help your chances get a good time trial lap and more points. In one way, you hate to take a chance on the first lap of the heat race to make a big bonsai move to gain spots, but if you don't, you might not get them. So it's risk versus reward, pretty big time.
In 97 there, Dave, did you have a car, say, and I hear a lot of guys do this for the really big events, did you have a car that was already kind of picked out and you set aside just for Knoxville, or you just took the same stuff you'd been running throughout the year?
I'm sure it wasn't very old, but I know we had been running it. I know we won a big race at Eldora the week before Knoxville with the same one. So sometimes guys would do that, would save one for it. But if I'd rather had a car and an engine that I was familiar with and knew I could trust rather than hoping I could trust.
With that being said, I mean, was there kind of a gem that, popped out at you and the car was working good and, it's the one that's beat up most of the time because that one sees the most amount of races, or did you want something that was fresh?
I don't think I had a, no, I didn't care really. Whatever was going good, if things were going well, you didn't want to change. And if things weren't going well, maybe at that time or the weeks prior to that, you might say, okay, let's just dive onto something new. But if things were going well, that's when you go in there with the most confidence with the same stuff you've been racing. And, if you could race or win a race the week before with the same stuff, well, you can win Knoxville with it too. So I think that's how we looked at it.
No doubt about it. We talked about it with Austin McCarl a few weeks back. The race car doesn't know that it's running the Knoxville Nationals, right? It's just the guy wheeling the thing. So that plays a huge part of it. But we've got to take a break at the moment. Stick with us. We'll be back with more Dave Blaney here on Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit.
The Outlaws are headed back to the Pacific Northwest. Join us for 3 action-packed nights of racing August 31st, September 1st and 2nd at Skagit Speedway when the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars return for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals. Kickoff for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals begins Wednesday, August 30th with a pre-race party, live band, Sage Fruit apple giveaways, and more. Then catch Donnie Schatz and the rest of the World of Outlaws as they take on Washington's best sprint car drivers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Details at SkagitSpeedway.com.
We're back. You're watching Wing Nation, presented by Sage Fruit. Still joining us is none other than Dave Blaney. Dave, we mentioned it in the last segment, 1997 Knoxville Nationals champion. But you were, if not the first, one of the first guys to not come back and try to defend your win there at the Knoxville Nationals, because in 1998, you ended up in the world of NASCAR. Was there any correlation between those two? Did that moment help you get a ride, or did you already have things going? I honestly can't say that I know your story into NASCAR.
I think it was already pretty well in motion at that point. But yeah, that was, in one way, that was a relief that I did win in 97 because I knew I may or may not be back. But it hurt not going back in 98 too, but can't go back. Not running a sprint car all year, you can't go back there and compete. I didn't think I could, so I didn't. But yeah, like I said, I was glad I was able to get one.
Dave, with the speeds they have at Knoxville, I'm kind of curious as I watch, like here at Port Royal and some of the larger tracks, and then like this weekend the Ironman with, or I should say a week or so ago with the Ironman, and you've seen Schuhart and Larson just dogfighting it out on a little short track. Do you think the cars are too fast on some of the big places with the speeds they're running? Or I'd like to get your thoughts, because you've seen a lot of the change in the sprint car through the last few years.
Yeah, they're definitely, the engines are so much better than, say if we're looking at 97. And I think in a way it makes the racing better because they have so much speed at the end of the straightaway. I think that's why you see the big slide jobs now that you didn't see much back in those days in the 90s. Right now, it seems like they're going too fast when they wreck on a half mile for sure. Man, big impacts, and it's scary. They're going pretty fast. But on the other side of it, it takes a pretty freak type of impact for somebody to get hurt, it seems like. They're pretty safe for how fast they're going, in my eyes.
And speaking of speed, obviously, you're climbing back in a sprint car every now and again throughout the season. Just a few weeks ago, a big momentum from gathering a podium with the World of Outlaws, running 12th to 3rd. I'm not going to lie, obviously, you're not on the tour, you're not consistent racing every weekend. When I read that, it was a huge shock to me. But obviously, you still got it, even for the veteran guys.
I appreciate you not saying I'm an old man as well. No, this is actually my first outlaw race. They had a race at Sharon this summer, and I missed it. But yeah, it's a Weedsport, a slow, slick track, and that's kind of my gig. When you get older, that's got to be your thing. So I drove all the way up there hoping to compete, and it was fun. We did compete pretty well, and was really happy with it leaving there.
Well, as what I'll call an experienced driver.
Yeah.
What are some of the other tracks? I mean, obviously, you had said earlier you're like a one race a month kind of guy, but what's some of the other places that you have that you go, well, I might venture out to that track if you feel the edge or the want to go race?
Sharon is kind of up my alley as far as slick and slower most of the time, not all the time. And I don't know, living in North Carolina, it's a trip to go anywhere in Ohio, Pennsylvania. But I don't have a lot of stuff, and I don't have a lot of help. So we'll just go, and it's going to be fun. And I think I can maybe have a shot at competing, and that's what we do.
Now, obviously, with owning Sharon Speedway, do you have a car that you kind of leave up there, or does everything come back to North Carolina and you make the trip when you go?
Yeah, I bring it all back. I can't leave it up there for a month and not tinker with it. So I got to have something to do. But no, we bring it back every time and go at it again.
Honey, I could have told you that he's going to mess with it. There's some rules been written that Dave has made them step up on. I guess the competitors didn't like some of the things he was working on. But how about your brother? Is it fun racing with him again? I see he also on that same night at Weedsport. I mean, he had a great run too. How's the two of you getting along on track? Yeah,
really good. We probably have a better relationship now than we've ever had for whatever reason. And well, it's never been bad. It's just probably the best now. But yeah, he's doing good. He's racing more than he has in the last few years this year with a car based right around Sharon Speedway, and he's raced in that area and ventured out a little bit. And yeah, he's having good nights and bad nights so far, but they're getting there.
And how is the life of being a grandfather now? You got a couple grandkids. What's that been like? Are you enjoying kind of the new pappy role, if you will?
Yeah, it's the best ever. Oh man. We had them all last week, and a lot of fun. A little hard on Grandpa and Grandma a little bit, but you power through it when you got the little ones. Then you can give them back.
So you had something that come to my mind when you talked about your brother, and what was the one guy, say when you were on the World Outlaw Tour, that throughout racing you would kind of walk up to and you would maybe kick ideas off of, that wasn't, per se a teammate, but just somebody you really got along with and kind of trusted their information as you guys would share?
I don't know if there was any drivers that I really did that with, and I don't know why. My crew chiefs, we just kind of do our own thing. And if you pay attention, you can see what's going on with everybody. You don't have to maybe ask them. You can't expect them to tell you the truth anyway, a lot of times.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. When I raced with Woodruff, man, we kind of just did our own thing, and for better or for worse, however it turned out. I don't know. The guy I probably watched the most and I don't know if you can say learned something from or learned how he did it was Doug Wolfgang. He was, I thought he was crazy good at knowing what he needed in the car, driving the car. You can watch Steve and Sammy, and they got great speed out of their cars, and Doug did too, but I think Doug was as well-rounded or more than any of them.
Love it. Absolutely love it. He was a man of his time for sure. Dave, with that being said, we're getting close to having to cut you go here, but where can fans check you out in the next few months? Where are you going to be racing at?
It looks like Sharon Speedway has a Wednesday night race end of August and a World of Outlaw race end of September. So the exact dates I'm a little fuzzy on, but I kind of know that. But that's the two I have planned. And there may be some others, but those two for sure.
Right on. Well, hopefully we'll see you in the winner's circle at Sharon with the World of Outlaws then. We appreciate your time. Thanks for it. It's been so great chatting with you and catching up. Thanks for joining us here on Wing Nation.
Thanks, Ashley. Thanks, David.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more in just a minute.
The Outlaws are headed back to the Pacific Northwest. Join us for 3 action-packed nights of racing August 31st, September 1st and 2nd at Skagit Speedway when the World of Outlaw NOS Energy Drink Sprint Cars return for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals. Kickoff for the Sage Fruit Skagit Nationals begins Wednesday, August 30th with a pre-race party, live band, Sage Fruit apple giveaways, and more. Then catch Donnie Schatz and the rest of the World of Outlaws as they take on Washington's best sprint car drivers Thursday, Friday, and Saturday nights. Details at SkagitSpeedway.com.
We're back. You're watching Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit. Always love catching up with Dave Blaney. Just a good dude. Like we mentioned, Knoxville's in full throttle right now, but upcoming races, Tuesday is High Limits at Huset's, paying $23,023. David, a whole lot of money on the line this weekend.
Yes, there is. And speaking of money, how about Thursday through Saturday, the Ag Jackson Nationals, not only paying 10 for what would be the first 2 nights, but 25,000 on Saturday. I mean, this is the month of money coming up.
Technically not yet, but we're getting close. The month of money, it rolls around in September, but also this weekend, some makeup races because Mother Nature has not played kindly this season. The Dream Race at Port Royal and the Greg Hodnick Classic, they've kind of had to mush the two together because of Mother Nature, and they want to make their sponsor obligations happen. So they are doing twin 25s for $10,000 each, twin 25.
Yes, and then the next night, you can go to Sealands Grove on Sunday. And I mean, they've done a great job there at Sealands Grove getting the surface and everything correct, but 10,000 with the All-Stars. So, I mean, what a great weekend to be here in Pennsylvania for that.
It sure is. There's no doubt about that. All right. So we've talked about it the whole show. Knoxville Nationals time. Sometime, David, we really need to get you out there first and foremost. Maybe we can make it happen before this show actually airs. But who's your pick? Do you have any idea of who you'd like to see win the Knoxville Nationals this year?
Well, I'd love to see Donnie Schatz. I think it's hard to go against him. It's very hard for me to go against him, but Rico has been gelling. Rico has been really, really good. So he's my pick for the Knoxville Nationals winner.
I couldn't agree with you more. Rico's a great pick, but I'm going to go with David Gravel because I would like to see that happen. I feel like he was snubbed a few years back when he had a perfect night. But we've got to wrap it up. The clock on the wall says so. Race fans, thank you so much for joining us each and every week right here on Wing Nation presented by Sage Fruit.